All right. It is Soul Lounge Prime Time.
The
We're
voice
in
of
the
Harlem, no
house.
doubt. No doubt. So I see the flyover.
Yeah, man. We have
Okay.
our drones. We got
Absolutely.
technology.
It's
So
good to sometimes have sponsors, and that's what this is all about. Our sponsors are able to actually invest in that technology. And you know what?
okay.
We're going to also make sure that any of our guests have access to that technology. Okay, how's that?
Okay. So speaking of guests, the
Oh,
Double G OG Glenn
the OG
Gilliam is
himself.
here.
Yes.
Is here. Is here.
Well, you know what, Night Watchman? The only reason why he has a smile is because our guy
Yeah.
did it. Can you say the British Grand Prix?
You know,
Okay. So
Yes,
so let's
out himself
let's
again.
let our audience in what we're talking about,
that's right.
which is Lewis Hamilton, best race car driver in the world,
Ever.
doing it
Ever.
ever, doing it again.
And so, okay, Glenn, and you actually did say a great thing. It's not his fault that Mercedes has a powerful car.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I mean, it's between him and Bottas, as you said, cannot necessarily do the same exact as Lewis, but they have the same technology. They have access to both technologies, and yet Lewis is able to actually, as you say, become one with the car.
Exactly. Well, Curtis, I think the important thing is number one, and we've talked about this before. He came from McLaren. It was considered the most risky move. He had already won a world championship there,
Mm-hmm.
and they're one of the most historic teams, obviously, in Formula One Grand Prix. And no one really believed in him making that move. Mercedes hadn't done anything before he got there. They were coming into the hybrid era.
Mm-hmm.
Red Bull had just had their 4-year run with Sebastian Vettel.
Mm-hmm.
So, the fact that there were no bandwagoners saying, oh, great, Lewis is just going to hop into the best car and run off with this world championship, that's just not true. And what I think a lot of people, especially the veterans who kind of discount all the great driving he does, and more importantly, what he contributes to the team.
Mm-hmm.
Because in developing a car year after year and being so consistent, it's his input. It's his, ability to assess the data and make it tangible for the engineers to actually make the adjustments and continue to improve the car that I think most people don't give him credit for. Toto Wolff had come over to Mercedes, had taken over. Nico Rosberg was already there. They hadn't won anything. Lewis shows up in 2013, and he gets his second World Driving Championship in 2014, and has run away with it ever since. And if it wasn't for his car blowing up in 2016 in Malaysia, he'd have a string of 6 in a row.
Exactly, because you know that Nico could hear him coming. Could hear him coming. If there were a couple more races, he would have done it. You know this.
No doubt.
You know?
Well, yeah, Nico, I hate to say, he took the coward's way out, because Lewis, as always, goes for the win. I mean,
Right.
he goes to win the championship, and Nico was happy enough to just slide in behind him, take second place in those points, knowing that if he was able to run it to the end for the last 5 races, he would eke him out by a few points. And then
Right.
he promptly retires from the sport.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's almost like saying, what's it? Rocky Marciano retiring undefeated. You know, hey, and he still has that to claim. You know.
Oh no, shoot! So does Floyd Mayweather. Floyd is picked his
Yes,
opponents
indeed.
well,
Yes, yeah,
has stacked chips well.
yes.
But I don't want to waste time on those knuckleheads. Just to put
Well,
in
hold it
perspective,
now. Before you could, because you are a multi-sport guy, so you
oh
know all the sports. So you, but I had never heard you comment on MMA.
well, I mean, I literally I was I was watching the oh my god, now I'm gonna screw up his name, Brosnan, brother who's in the middleweight who just crushed
Okay.
it. Oh gosh, says about no, I'm gonna screw up his name. I mean, it was a brutal fight. And granted, I'm not a follower of
Right.
that particular genre. I enjoy it more than I did initially. It was really a breeding ground for kind of criminals and domestic violence. I mean, they have a pretty rough history when it comes to that.
They definitely do. That I will agree with you for sure.
And Dana White has taken advantage of the times. And
yes, he has
chosen his battlefields and has really elevated the sport. Obviously, I mean, I don't know why anybody would sign up for it other than the fact that you're broke and you need money. But
that's true.
Sport. So I can't deny them that. It's the most brutal sport, though.
It is, absolutely.
Yeah, he was taking forearm shivers to the head. He's laying on the ground, and the referees are like, "Oh, not yet. No, still breathing. Okay, there's still some blood left to come." It's like, I don't even want to go there because got you. They've got nothing on the guys who beat up Rodney King. I mean, it's just
that is true. Well, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, before we go any further, please, the incomparable Mr. Glenn Gilliam, or as you say, Night Watchman. What do you say? The OG, the original OG?
I say the double G OG.
Gotcha.
I appreciate you brothers consistently putting the word out there and keeping Harlem's voice on point.
Thank you, man.
So let's talk about sports in general, because there have been a lot of reboots and restarts, and they're not all going smoothly. Let's start out. You might not want to start out with the NBA, DJ LeRoy, because I know that your favorite team is not doing so well.
Wow! Wow!
I was with him because KD was there, but you don't even try it.
I know. I'm not. I definitely, as he knows, I did. Okay. I'm not gonna say what my son had called me. Okay, I will not say that because FCC would definitely shut us down. But let's just say I grew up in New York. I was a New York Knicks fan, but remember, I'm waiting since '73. Okay. Okay.
Get on the bandwagon.
We were close 2 times, but we lost to 2 Texas teams. Remember, first Houston, Game 7. And then, of course,
blah blah. Nobody wants to hear it anymore. I mean, the bottom line is, here in 2020, the Knicks are already out of contention again. So let's move on.
Well, so Night Watchman, what is the Dolan paying you? Is that what you just said? Let's move on. Wait for the next. Wait for next year. What?
He's not paying me. Come on, Dolan. I would please.
Well, okay.
No love for any of the Dolans.
They did just hire Thibodeau, who's a great coach.
Yes, he is.
Great credentials.
Yes,
he is. There was some talk that Mark Jackson was going to get a decent look. I don't know if that actually took place, but
speaking of which, you do know, in terms of Golden State, he was the architect behind them getting those pieces.
Another black coach who laid the groundwork. To have a white coach come in and get the championship. How did that happen? Wow.
So
he got Sunjied.
well, this almost sounds like Night Watchman, that he's almost referencing, of course, Bob Watson of Yankee fame. Remember?
Yeah, but Bob Watson got his chips. He got the championship.
Hold it, but got the kudos later rather than sooner.
And more
I don't think he got his kudos later, but he did. But he does have that. He did have that championship ring.
Right.
He has a Olympic gold ring, which nobody else has for USA baseball. So he got his respect. He got the accolades they can't take away from him. First black general manager in baseball. First black general manager to win a World Series in baseball.
Who gets booted from their job after winning the World Series?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right.
I guess the answer is, this is Jeopardy, a black man. I guess.
What? No. what is a black man?
Okay.
Yeah.
Remember,
Well,
in the form of a question.
Okay.
that's
What is, but I say who is. But anyway, okay.
well, that's the
Man, I did want to mention though, because I mean, and to be clear, the NBA obviously has restarted.
Yes.
They've had some very interesting games.
Yep.
Of course, the big issue before it got restarted was people like Kyrie Irving who were voicing their concern about restarting the league, losing momentum with the social justice protests. And I think that was legitimate. Folks have been arguing that the platform allows a greater amplification of the arguments and of the protests. They have done, I think, an admirable job, at least in terms of they got Black Lives Matter obviously on the court,
on their uniforms,
on their they definitely have some sayings on the back of their uniforms.
Yep.
But they have the T-shirts, WNBA and NBA,
yep,
both wearing those. There have been strong statements made by LeBron James and others, young ladies in the WNBA as well. So, while I still feel like a stronger statement might have been made by not having the rest of the games, that would have been a real flag. I'm not going to deny those folks the chance to speak their mind, as well as obviously, live out their livelihoods and pursue, their quest, their championship. So that's
right.
The NFL is more of a question mark, and there are more and more players opting out.
That's true.
And there's so much, obviously with the ridiculous reopenings that have been happening around the country way too soon, and places spiking all over the country. If you have any family concerns, you have to step away. I mean,
well, you see, Major League Baseball, they've had more than a couple of hiccups. Yeah,
it's a mess. It's
and it's indicative of the commissioner. Commissioner Manfred is a joke, in my opinion. That's I think.
Well, evidently, a lot of Major League Baseball players share your opinion, especially when he came out and more or less accused them of being quitters or something like that because they weren't all ready to jump out there. Even as players keep testing positive, they've had to. They came out with a schedule and then they had to rechange 14 or 15 games already because of people who tested positive. So it's just a mess.
It is. Yeah. And for him to say that players should be playing better, this. I mean, it's baseball. There's so much there's so much ground to drill down on there in terms of team ownership and the lack of diversity and all the kind of subterfuge that's gone on with bringing Latino players in by the boatload, while kind of dismissing black players have made a little bit of a comeback over the last few years, but I believe the representation is still under 10%, which is just abysmal.
Well, here's the quick question: in terms of, is there, let's say, some an effort to really do inner city recruitment of black players?
Well, haven't you heard of the RBI program? That great. Look, I'm being deceived.
No, go ahead.
Well, no, it's been around for over 25 years. I mean, our good friend Wendy Lewis, who is now with McDonald's in Chicago, who ran that program and the diversity program for many years, did an A1 job in the diversity aspect of it. I think the RBI program, unfortunately, kind of like the NJTL for the USTA in tennis, is more of a photo op. Let's get the kids together. But, we saw with the Little League World Series, Chicago wins it and they take it away from them because they had the nerve to say, oh, geographically, this kid was from the wrong side of town. I mean, just a joke. And then you expect people embrace baseball when these kids fight for, everything that they get to the top of the Little League World Series, and then you promptly take away their championship. It's just, it's just a one in a long list of.
Who are they playing against?
I'm sorry.
Who are they playing against?
Oh gosh.
Say some team from Arizona or something like that.
Yeah, I'm, and
Does
that
it matter?
I mean, not to rehash that old stuff because it was obviously the white coaches from the opposing teams who were these oppositions and declarations
Wow.
eating or what have you. And we know it's almost like gerrymandering. We know these folks carve up their districts to make sure they get the best players. Nobody like years ago when I think it was a New York team that had some players and a couple
Harlem
of them
Little League.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of Dominican boys.
Correct.
Who look like they belonged in the military or something. I mean, these guys. these guys
or in Major League Baseball. You're right.
Right. 9-year-olds with 5 o'clock shadow.
They did kind of resemble, some
deep voices,
but nothing like that. Everybody was age appropriate, and I think it was really one kid who came from the west side of Chicago. It was just ridiculous, the premise in and of itself. But more importantly, Major League Baseball, who, and let me just say, this is the 100th anniversary of the Negro Leagues that started in 1920. And Major League Baseball did do a collaborative celebration, not to the public. I mean, I don't think it was broadcast. It was online. I did see, the Players Association president and Major League Baseball do a coordinated celebration, but they need to just create a wing for the Negro League players in the Hall of Fame, in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. It's nice that we have the Negro League Hall of Fame in Kansas City, but what the Negro League, the players, the coaches, the managers did for Major League Baseball can't be understated.
Yeah.
I mean, it brought small ball. It brought all of the tools and tricks that Major League Baseball enjoys in terms of the game looking exciting. And then it brought incredible players, obviously, to the game, which for a span of about 10 years, just about every Major League Baseball MVP was black. I mean, between Hank Aaron and Willie Mays and Frank Robinson, I mean, the list was, ridiculous. And then all of a sudden, you see the slide off as you get into, the late 70s and 80s. But then we have Barry Bonds, who obviously should have been in the Hall of Fame years ago. And, to even bring up the thought of steroids or some, performance-enhancing drug. If everybody could do what Barry Bonds did, everybody would be taking drugs. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Right. This guy was picking out 1 or 2 pitches a game and knocking them out of the stadium. I mean,
that's right.
So
that's right.
Get him in the Hall of Fame and stop this nonsense.
Well, one of the things I remember you and I had an off-camera conversation about the fact that we talked about how Roger Maris, when he was actually challenging the home run king that's set by Babe Ruth. Remember, 154 as opposed to 162. But we also said that, remember, when Babe Ruth also set the record, it wasn't an integrated league.
Oh, well, yeah. Don't get that stuff.
And so literally all of these guys who set these records, when they did not go up against the best players, players, and you're gonna tell me that Babe Ruth would not have been shut out by Satchel Paige time and time again in his prime? Come on, man.
Well, look, look, the bottom line is Babe Ruth was a talent. There's no denying.
Yes, he was. Absolutely. No denying.
And those guys, Joe DiMaggio included, who's always given props to the Negro Leagues, they barnstormed. They played against the Negro League players.
They did.
They got their ass whipped. I mean, more
because they knew how good those suckers were.
Oh,
absolutely.
No doubt about it. I mean, I think it's it's long overdue that recognition is more well documented and, more importantly, institutionally, permanently honored within the Major League Hall of Fame. I think that's something. And unfortunately, Major League Baseball has really kind of operated in a sense of waiting for every possible former Negro leaguer to die off, and continue to just promote kind of Jackie Robinson as the lone hero, as the Lone Star representative, which Curt Flood, who should be
oh my God. Every Major League ball player owes him a debt.
Oh no, every team player on a professional
every team player. Can you say no free agency?
Okay.
Come on.
I mean, this is literally, you know, I mean, not to make the equation too fine, but Colin, while he sacrificed his livelihood, Curt Flood was the highest paid player at the time, was the best player on St. Louis Cardinals, who were owned by Augustus Busch of Busch Beer and Budweiser, and who was a racist bastard to the bone. And unfortunately, the sad thing is, much like MLK Jr. not getting the unconditional support from blacks during the civil rights era, unfortunately, Frank Robinson and Hank Aaron, Willie Mays said, "Hey, Curt, you're on your own." You know, Bob Gibbons was on his team. Hey, I can't afford to lose this check.
That's right. I got a big ass check that's coming. I got to continue to keep it coming, and you know,
Curt had the biggest check. I mean, he was making over $100,000 in 1967.
Wow, wow.
Yeah. So for him to put his career on the line, and it's just like I said, while we're righting the wrongs during this stage of taking down statues, and you know, and I was just looking at this Tom Cotton nonsense talking about slavery was a necessary evil. Trying to
back up. Okay, explain this. What
we know you were on vacation, so you don't know any of the stuff that happened recently. Let's bring him up to speed.
What did Tom, that spineless person, say? And I will say, Tom, I will say it to your face, you are spineless because you have let a 45 get away with everything. And so what did he say?
Well, he's been despicable. I mean,
yes.
And these guys, especially, I mean, look, the premise for all of this is the fact that the GOP ran every moderate they had out of their party so that they could let these Tea Partiers and these idiots in, and the Freedom, whatever,
Freedom Caucus.
Freedom Caucus that came later. But the Tea Partiers came in with one agenda: to wreck the place.
That's it, yeah. Well, and certainly get rid of 44. Okay, our guy. Right. Definitely. I mean, make sure that he was a one-termer.
To the extent that they could do that, yes. I mean, but the bigger issue is the fact that they had the same agenda as always. I mean, obviously, get rid of taxes, you know, get rid of the social safety net, all of the usual suspect nonsense. But
that if you can't make it here on your own in this country, then that's on you, not on the country. That's the premise that they were floating. Yeah.
That's the nonsense they keep repeating.
So what did Tom do?
So Tom, you know, in an effort to try to devalue and actually get removed the 1619 project, which my girl
from school, yes.
And now there's an educational curriculum behind it to bring the truth finally to our kids, which is ridiculous. Black history has always been American history, but that's been excluded from you know, our school system. So in an effort to try to devalue that and get rid of the 1619 project, he said, and now he's trying to obviously moonwalk his way back from that, saying these were the thoughts of the founding fathers, that, you know, the mere fact that slavery was endured by them, and of course the first 7, I think, of our U.S. presidents were all slave owners. The fact that slavery was a necessary evil to build what became the American economy, to try to make that, to try to reconcile that in some way, making it sound like, oh yeah, we saved you guys from Africa and we gave you a chance by bringing you over here and building the country.
But then he tried to make it like, well, the founding fathers put us on a path to ending that evil institution. And it's like, what path was that? That was the kind of the long way around a little bit, because I can't see any, and none of those founding fathers were still alive when slavery ended, and slavery didn't just end. Did it just expire? No, it went kicking and screaming, and we had to have a whole war about it. So what exactly did the founding fathers do to end this evil institution? It's like, I'll do it tomorrow, but right now, could you bring me some food?
You know? And continue to pick that damn cotton, okay?
Right,
continue.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, but that's been the issue, Bob, and I know that's, I mean, where you're going. Slavery didn't end. I mean, it was not curtailed. They put the 13th Amendment in, with a nice caveat. Oh yeah, all y'all are free except the criminals. Now we're going to criminalize all of you.
That's
and
right.
For the folks who out there who haven't seen Ava DuVernay's incredible award-winning documentary 13, please go see it.
Absolutely.
But that foundation is also, and I mean, I'll just segue because we're there. That foundation of corruption has led to, in real time, the NYPD 12, who I'm sure you guys are familiar with. These are the Black and Hispanic police officers who not only challenged the system, but have put themselves on camera saying that the quota system that was supposed to be removed in 2010 has been replaced with a productivity name system in which they still have to write arrest, bring in folks, all the things that policemen have been charged with. And at the end of the month, and please, in addition to 13th, watch Crime and Punishment. It is an amazing documentary. These people put their lives and livelihoods on the line to fight for what most of us are concerned about with our kids in terms of being harassed by cops, being snatched up, being pressed to snitch on whatever. I mean, just any excuse is used to put our Black young men and women in the throes of the penal system, of the criminal justice system. And they build cases against them when they don't even charge them. I mean, this system is terrible. And one of the cops was saying that at the end of the month, you see an aggression go on with cops to make arrests, to write folks up, to take them in. I argue that's what happened to Rashad Brooks. He's asleep at the wheel, car at the Wendy's. What kind of discretion could have been used? Any number of options were available.
Last time I checked, his car was going to be in the parking lot. So you got all the information. How long was that damn conversation that he had with him?
47, 48 minutes, something ridiculous.
Wow.
Right. And they never said, right. I'm sorry.
You know that he's not a threat. You already ascertained that early on. You know that he's not armed, nothing. You know, right. And so but because I have to say it, Glenn, because you got your ass kicked by this dude, right, in trying to get away, you're hopped up now. So you got to. I got to teach it. Did this guy just do this to me? Really?
Right.
That's what happened. You know that's what happened because he was still hopped up from the altercation.
Well, I think the saddest part is looking at what happened to Eric Garner, looking at what happened, any opportunity, because when you watch this film, Crime and Punishment, they go into explicit detail about the fact if you can get an arrest, obviously that's the primary goal. If you can get an arrest with a gun involved, that's an added bonus. All things have levels. And the truth of the matter is, why do they start these altercations? Why do they provoke Black people to try to get into some kind of physical altercation? Because that allows them to use their discretion to arrest you. And now they can take her in or use any, unfortunately, lethal force feels necessary. And it's very simple.
And even how many times have we seen these videos where the person is doing nothing and the cop is yelling, "Stop resisting, stop resisting." And all it's basically theatrics for the body cams.
If they have on. I mean, that's the other issue, of course. Once the body cams were supposed to be widely used or present, we've seen plenty of cases where cops are not using them, saying they forgot to turn them on, whatever. They had control over their use, and consequently, I mean, we haven't seen obviously any video from Breonna Taylor's killing.
Nope. Conveniently so.
Please arrest and convict these killers of Breonna Taylor. That can't be said enough. But it's so obvious why they do what they do, and provoking our young people in high school, provoking our folks who are on the street, the usual suspects in Harlem and Brooklyn. We know they get rounded up and picked on all the time. We know what they're doing, and consequently, and even one of the suggestions was, if you get picked up and you get detained at a police station, do not take a drink of water, do not accept anything that they can get your fingerprints on, because they will use that to run as DNA evidence to try to affect getting you arrested or convicting you or placing you at another crime. I mean, it's so insidious. It's to me, this quota system has just been all a connected dot from the criminalization of our community, and it continues to fill these prisons. I mean, it's all part of this prison industrial complex, which needs to feed on itself. It's all revenue generation.
Yeah.
This young brother, Edwin Raymond, who's been kind of the plaintiff for the NYPD 12, outstanding, amazing young man. All of them are. I mean, let me just say that. And they have gotten so much support from other cops who don't feel that they can put themselves out there. Sadly. I didn't even know Serpico was still alive. He marched with these guys in 2017. Frank Serpico, who, had the movie made about his own confrontation. And the sad part is, as one cop said, as one critic had said, it's not about bad apples running things. It's about if you have one bad apple, but everybody looks the other way to allow them to do what they do, then everybody's tainted.
Then it's all bad apples.
That's right. All bad apples.
Yeah. So
wow.
But it's sad because I have a new in-law, and let me give props. I mean, Palmer, 30 years retired now. We had a very lively discussion at a recent barbecue, and he was giving me, chapter and verse about how he had to operate authentically and cleanly. Within the law, and thankfully wasn't caught up in a precinct or with a commanding officer who was trying to get him to do the wrong thing. I think those folks are rare, unfortunately.
Right.
We need more of those cops who can go out and de-escalate problems, talk to young people as if they're humans. All of those things that we know should be involved. And more importantly, now hopefully finding folks in this defunding and reprioritizing of budgets, finding people who can actually engage the community that aren't strapped with guns. This is ridiculous, having people who are carrying weapons and wearing, in some cases, military gear, handling incidental, nonviolent interactions with people. It's ridiculous.
Right.
We're dealing with traffic stops.
There should never be a situation where a mental health patient ends up dead with confrontation. Oh, and a quick reminder to people, if you didn't know this, if you know somebody who has a mental health issue, you don't call 911, you call 888 NYC Well. In the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, they have people who will come out and deal with the situation in a non-confrontational manner. That's just good information for New York. Yes.
Major props, my brother. Major props. All right. Very good.
Now, we saw an unlikely ally in the defund the police debate from Ammon Bundy, who is remember the Bundys, those guys up in the woods somewhere who had the federal standoff a few years ago, and the Rangers, so one of them actually came out today saying
Ted Bundy. I'm sorry.
they're all related. Yeah. Cliven Bundy, that was his father.
Yeah, that was the father.
Ammon was the son, so he actually came out in support of Black Lives Matter and defunding police, and says he's taken a little flack from some of his right-wing militia buddies for saying so. But
wow.
But I heard his comments on it, and while I'm not co-signing on all the things he's done in the past, but his comments about over policing were kind of spot on.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, it's not as if white folks don't catch the wrong end, depending on their zip code and where they live and how they're in.
Yeah, but they do get convenient amnesia.
Oh no.
Especially when it comes to Second Amendment rights for Black people.
No doubt.
The NRA all of a sudden is like, Philando Castile et al.
I noticed that the NRA did not do anything in terms of a protest against what happened to Philando Castile.
No,
nothing.
not at all.
I mean, really?
Right, because it's really the National Racist Association. Just call it what it is.
That's like expecting the PBA to actually go against some of these murderers who have been, killing our folks all over the. And by the way, arrest and convict the Breonna Taylor's murderers.
Enough already.
Let me say on that note, we have to mention the passing of two of our greatest icons. Obviously, Representative John Lewis, and C.T. Vivian, who's just a pastoral unequal. I mean, as a soldier, fight with MLK.
And these two brothers who put their lives in harm's way. Harm's way, because these they didn't know whether or not these mofos would not beat the living daylights, and they did.
Oh, sure.
And it could have gone upside down where they could have been killed
easily,
and they would have been a footnote somewhere.
Well, the good thing is that they actually, I mean, C.T. Vivian was 95, so he got to live out a life, which of course MLK and Medgar Evers and Malcolm and so many others not.
That's true.
It's funny because when they talk about how young John Lewis was, John Lewis was a teenager when he first met Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King was 26 years old. I mean, he was a kid.
They all were.
The thing was, 4 years out of getting out of school was like, what? Wait a second.
That's right.
I mean, Montgomery boycott. Wow. I mean, all these folks were very young and took on, and it's like the young people. Black Lives Matter. These are young women, the young folks who are doing, just yeoman's work in the present protest. It's really remarkable and historic, and thank God.
So, Night Watchman, that fire truck, it sounded like it was getting close to your apartment. Is that correct? Just checking. You're not in any trouble that we know of, right?
No, I'm not in any trouble. I just happen to live a block away from the firehouse, so that's
true.
very, very normal occurrence to me. If I'm not taping a show, I actually don't even hear it. But getting back to the deaths. So as they say, deaths go in threes. The third one who died was striking by his contrast to the other two, and that, of course, is Herman Cain. And
I didn't see that coming at all.
Yeah, me neither. I thought he was going to do Lowry. That's who I thought. I thought he was going to say Lowry. But you're absolutely right. So Herman Cain.
But you have to look at the contrast, because coming right on the heels of these great civil rights pioneers and the lack of acknowledgement of these heroes from the White House and the GOP in general, astounding and deafening in its silence. And then the most problematic death could ever happen. It's a guy who clearly caught COVID at the Tulsa rally, and we see him dancing around, and he made tweets about not wearing a mask. The rally was on June 20th. He was submitted. I believe he went into the hospital on July 1st, and he was dead before the end of the month. Really problems for the White House, because they had to come out. First of all, they had to come out and sing his praises like this is the greatest guy in the history of great guys. And he was American. He worked his way from the ground up from nothing to become, a magnate of business. And first of all, look, no disrespect to the man's accomplishments, but running a mediocre pizza chain is not exactly a titan of industry. We're not talking about Reginald Lewis level here. We're not talking about Ken Chenault level. We're talking about, yes, you were the CEO of a pizza chain that was not good enough to make it in New York, the pizza capital of the world. Okay.
Night Watchman, let us know how you really feel.
I'm stating facts. If there's anything I said that was in error, please, you can fact check me in real time. I promise.
Well, I just have to put a button on that to say, thank God for chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus, Cedric Richmond, who put William Barr in check at the hearings this week and told him, I don't want to hear anybody, you or anybody else at the DOJ, having, I'm sorry, guys, fans are calling in.
Oh, see, this is what happens when we book celebrities like him. See, Night Watchman.
Yeah.
Not hardly.
Sunday night booty call.
you
better expunge that. You know that. Go ahead.
This better not make it alive. But no, on a serious note, the mere fact that so many people, and obviously this was, if I could have been at the rotunda, the Capitol Rotunda, where John Lewis's body lied in state, I would have thrown my shoe at Mitch McConnell, at Bitch McConnell, for having the nerve to utter the words he did, trying to act like he had any compassion, support, endorsement of John Lewis's life or his victories or his life's work. These people are corruptors and criminals and don't have the right, don't have any of the standing to speak John Lewis or C.T. Vivian's name or Reverend Lowry's name or any of these great champions that Elijah Cummings, so many of these guys. And, they've twisted Martin Luther King's words, obviously, forever. Oh, it's not about the color of your skin. It's about the content of your character. And they've tried to use that in reverse discrimination and everything else. These guys are the biggest BS artists on the planet, and we should not tolerate them trying to absolve themselves of their wrongdoings by saying anything nice, even though Trump at least stayed true to colors and refused to make any statements.
That's right. Or send anyone.
Can we talk about Marco Rubio posting the picture of him and John Lewis, except it was Elijah Cummings?
Oh no. He made a faux pas like that. He made a faux pas.
Yes. He made the faux pas.
I'm not going to say anything because I have a very close relative of mine who made the same mistake.
Okay. Really? Okay.
But he's not a senator.
No, exactly. They're not making laws. No question. And he's repented for that. But
okay.
Yeah. It was in the hurry of the airport.
Yeah, I might have to bring this one up here for the screen just so we
please. You got to, man. You got
hold
to.
on here.
That is some crazy stuff.
Hey, I'll just mention this quickly because I don't know if we're going to circle back to sports, but I do want to say that tennis is being played again. The women's tour is starting again shortly. Unfortunately, their first tournament that Serena is headlining in is going to be down in Lexington, Kentucky. Sloane Stephens will be there. A number of the top players. It's called Top Seed Open, and it's going to be in Lexington, Kentucky. They need to all drive over to Louisville and let those fools know that we're not going to stand for Taylor's murderers not being arrested. So just to say, WTA, make a statement, and good luck, ladies.
Wow. Yes, that is indeed good old Elijah Cummings.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
He's only
it was an honor to know and impress. Yeah. It's like you don't even know who you met with. That's crazy.
So did he come back and try to clean it up or what?
Well, he was Elijah Cummings' widow was gracious enough to come out and say, well, it was an honest mistake. I don't know if I'd be so gracious, but you got a right to do it how you want to do it.
Yes, but, absolutely.
But it just speaks to, what can I say?
Yeah.
Bliss. And that's,
Yes. So I actually, it's funny now, I don't necessarily watch it, certainly not on the regular, NHL. And they actually had a nice little thing in terms of Black Lives Matter addressing. They had one of the few black players actually speak about it. I forget his name now, but eloquently and also it was also taken in stride with a number of the white players who are on the team. I think this is one of the Canadian teams who actually understood what it all means in terms of Black Lives Matter, and how when all lives do not matter until Black lives matter. That's the key thing, because how suckers want to kind of like somehow really devalue that. Oh, no, all lives matter, all lives matter. But the people who actually want to say this stuff don't look at the killings that have been happening to Black folk.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I'll just say it's a great point, and I think that, well, PK Subban, who some may know, he's now I believe playing for New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, yep.
And he's dating. Actually, they're engaged, or did they get married? The young lady who was dating Tiger Woods, the skier, the Olympic skier, Vaughn. Oh my God.
Lindsey Vonn.
Lindsey Vonn.
Lindsey Vonn. One of the best damn female skiers of all time. Yep. Okay.
No question. And so, yeah, I mean, who knew? Lindsey likes the brothers. But her and PK Subban were on what's that? Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. The new brother who's on Fox Sports, Acho, former NFL.
Ocho Cinco.
No, not Ocho Cinco.
Oh.
He's got a little bit of a different name. I can see his face and I'm forgetting his name. I apologize. It's a podcast that's worth checking out. I mean, I think, amidst some of the, I don't want to say it's nonsense, amidst some of the stuff that goes with having white people almost kind of it's almost like, it's not a reconciliation panel of any kind, but it's with folks owning up to their own ignorance or their naivete or whatever it is about the plight of Black people, or about the slights and inhumanities that take place when Black people are passed over for opportunities or
on the daily.
It's this brother has brought, I think, some light to the subject. So, Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. It might be worth your check.
I got to check that out. Thank you. Yo, text us.
I will do that.
Well, uncomfortable for who?
Well, look, I mean, the bottom line is we'd all prefer not to have to talk about this. We'd love for there to have been reparations. Look, white folks could have gotten off easy with 40 Acres and a Mule 150 years ago, but they took the long road. So now reparations are going to be a little more serious, a lot more serious. But I think, the critical part is that, and maybe I'll circle this back to, I know we've chatted about it before, this upcoming VP selection for Joe Biden. The fact that some people were actually putting words in Joe's mouth by saying he said he was going to pick a Black woman. No, he didn't say he was going to pick
said that. Never. I know this. That's right. But NightWatchman, what did you hear? Did you hear that?
Oh, no, I agree. He said, I believe he might have said that he was going to pick a woman.
Oh,
correct. He definitely said that.
Yes, but there has never been a hard commitment, and he has been looking around at other soft targets that were not Black women. Amy Klobuchar, who's
done.
Well, yeah, she got done. Shortly after the George Floyd incident, and it came out that she had an opportunity to have a role in stopping that officer from doing that and didn't. And so we know that she was dead in the water. But there's been others that have been floated around. And, frankly, it's not a deal breaker for me per se. I want to see someone who can handle the spot, because let's face it, with Joe Biden, there's a higher percentage that he doesn't make it 2 terms.
Yeah, that's true.
So we actually do need somebody who, if the call comes, can step in and handle the pressure. So whoever it is, it's got to be that. And I am not by any means saying that a Black woman can't handle it. I will say that someone like Stacey Abrams, who I think ostensibly could handle it, but I don't think she necessarily has the strong enough resume.
Right.
I think Kamala Harris absolutely does. I think Susan Rice.
However, Dr. Jill is not necessarily feeling her as much as she said because of the early debate where Kamala went after Joe.
Who's Dr. Jill?
Joe Biden's wife.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, it's not about you.
That's her husband. That's her man.
Because let's be for real. Joe Biden is not many people's first choice, but he's our only choice right now.
Yes, that's true.
So let's not and if you see the campaign that they're running, the campaign is not about Joe Biden. The campaign is about Trump. Now, I understand that. You have a guy who has basically been the worst president in presidential history and is still trying to push the bar further so no one can catch up with him. But I always feel like at some point, if you're running, you have to run on your own strengths. You can't just run on the other guy is bad, so vote for me. And I don't see vision. I don't see focus. I don't see the fire. I don't see him advocating for.
Edit, cut this out, Bob. Stop. Come on. Man.
Okay, but I'm riding with Biden. How about
He's
that?
All we got, man. Come on.
I'm riding with Biden. There's no question.
You can't afford to give
unequivocally riding with Biden because Biden did not put kids in cages.
Yes.
Biden did not bring white supremacists out from under their rocks and continually throws white supremacist gang signs and dog whistles. There is no question. Joe Biden is 1,000% better than what we have now.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
We can deal with the rest. But
NightWatchman, you do have to say that. NightWatchman, you do have to say that the bar though is very, very low.
but not only the bar is very low, but let's not back us up into a corner to say that Joe Biden has a free pass.
No, not at all.
He has to be engaged and listening to what the issues really are, and I'm not by any means satisfied with that. But I have a great dissatisfaction with the Democratic Party in general, of which I have voted Democratic pretty much all my life.
How much time do we have? I'm sorry.
We got about 5 more minutes.
Yeah.
So.
No, I was joking. I mean, I was.
How much time for the Democrats? Oh yeah. We might have to do a part 2 on that one.
Okay. Glenn will be back, and we're going to continue that. For sure. Yeah. As a matter of fact, we are definitely going to have a show with the 3 of us because, as you do know, you see the shirt that I have, of course, right? Ooh.
Black folk must vote. Yes.
Okay. Shout out
Ken Smalls.
Ken Smalls. So that we're going to have I guess November 3rd or 4th, the day after. Even though remember, 45 is saying that for mail-in, too fraudulent. That's 1. But 2, it would take maybe months or years before we know who won. That's what he said.
Well, look, first of all,
I'm sorry.
Somebody take it. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, what's going on in Portland right now should have everybody on
scared.
Pins and needles. We should have pitchforks out. We should be storming the Capitol right now. This guy has unidentified federal agents in camo and military gear, snatching people off the street, putting them in unmarked cars, and taking them away. Are we in North Korea? Where the freak are we?
Yeah.
This is insane.
Yeah,
in Portland, one of the whitest cities in America, and he's snatching people off the street, and people are saying this is a dry run to what he might pull on Election Day.
Wow.
No, he won't pull it on Election Day. I expect something to happen in September or October because the narrative that he's trying to invoke to try to resuscitate his dying campaign is the John Wayne narrative. he's got to ride into town and get rid of all the lawlessness. And that's what he wants to sell. But he needs to sell that far enough in advance of the election that the fact that 150,000 and rising Americans are dead under his watch, more than that died in the Vietnam War, more than died in the last 4 or 5 wars combined, are dead under his watch. And and so he's hoping that he can create another storyline that will, resuscitate his base and make them forget about grandma and grandpa dying unnecessarily because of his lack of action.
Well, the saddest part is, Bob and Curtis, is that if not for COVID, unfortunately, this fool probably could get it reelected.
That is sad.
That is
sad.
Worldwide pandemic to actually point out the flaws we already knew. This fool had already been impeached, and if not for Mitch McConnell, would be out of office already. The mere fact that this pandemic has to kill off what will ultimately be over 200,000 Americans and millions worldwide, just to say this is what it takes to get rid of this guy. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. I just got to shout out because I think she's just, Black women in tennis are making statements. So I just got to give them some props quickly. Coco Gauff, Naomi Osaka are representing young Black women well from a celebrity standpoint and speaking really, really eloquently and with just great maturity about supporting Black Lives Matter, supporting this social justice, protesting. And I hope they continue to speak out and that we get more and more young people to continue this fight, because it's a young person's game and they need to fight for their future. So kudos.
Absolutely.
So on that note, I think we're going to wrap it up. Thank you, Glenn Gilliam. Thank you, DJ LeRoy, for coming back from the Riviera or wherever you were vacationing. I know it wasn't the Riviera because
don't tell anybody.
Actually, no Americans can go over there right now.
That's right. That's right. So I stayed stateside. I was domestic. I was definitely domestic. And let's say, so before you go, because our guy, of course, is LH Lewis. So prediction for this F1 series.
Oh, look, the bottom line is that they do have, they're going to be racing at Silverstone again next week. And it is the 70th anniversary of Formula One, which started at Silverstone in Great Britain. They've got something to work out in terms of this tire degradation. They're using different compounds, but once again, just a word, Valtteri Bottas, sorry about that. He just got wiped out by a blown front tire.
I know. He didn't even make the podium. Wow.
Yeah. He didn't, no points, but kudos to Lewis. And he's going to win going away. We'll have a great time discussing those records. In the not too distant future.
All right. This is So Lounge Primetime, WHCR 90.3 FM. Sorry, Matt Damon, we're out of time.
That's right. The voice of Harlem.
Harlem.
All right.